Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishna Kiddushin, Perek Beis, Chapter 2, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Today's Mishnah is sponsored in memory of Moshe ben Baruch Isaac, Pete Gilman, uncle of Barry Steinberg. Neshama Shavan Aliyah.
Amen.
Ha'ish Mekadesh Boy Ubishluchai. A man can perform Kiddushin or can make Kiddushin on a woman by himself, Ubishluchai, with an agent. Right? That is something we derive from the Torah, that an agent can represent you. If you appoint someone to be an agent to do something, what he does is like you do it. And therefore, you can appoint an agent, a shliach, to be mekadesh a woman. He goes over, he takes your money, goes over to the woman, and he says to her, Hare mukadeshes to so-and-so. Okay? So that's what we say. He does it himself or with his shliach. Bartenura points out that the Mishnah mentions by himself first, because essentially making Kiddushin is doing a mitzvah, getting married, and you should be doing it yourself. It's a bigger mitzvah to do the mitzvah by yourself than through someone else. But if you do it through someone else, it's going to count. It's going to work. The same thing, Isha miskadeshes, a woman can become mukadeshes by herself or through an agent. If she sends an agent to receive the money, the Kiddushin, whether it's money, whether it's a document, if she sends an agent to receive it from the person, from the man who's going to become her husband through Kiddushin, she can do that too. She can accept it herself, or she can do it through her agent. Okay, that is, and the age and the husband is going to say to the agent, this and this woman is mukadeshes through this. For your receiving, he gives a shliach, the agent, the money, and he says, so-and-so is mukadeshes to me through this, becomes mukadeshes because my wife through this. Okay, now, that's the first part of the Mishnah. Next part of the Mishnah is like this. Ha'ish mekadesh espita kashehinara by ubishluchai. A man can make Kiddushin, can accept Kiddushin and make Kiddushin for his daughter when she is a nara. She's at the stage of when she's at the age that she's called a nara. He could do it himself. He receives the Kiddushin himself or through his agent. That means if a person wants to mekadesh his daughter, he can go ahead and be the one to receive the money for her. Whether it's he himself or the shliach that he appoints to receive the money. Now, this we have to elaborate a little bit more on when we say this Mishnah, though, a man can marry off his daughter when she is a nara. What age exactly is a nara? And does this point and is there a stage where he can't do it anymore? So let me read to you how they lay it out here. There are 3 stages in the life of a maturing girl. She is a katana, a minor, from the day of her birth till she reaches the age of 12 and grows 2 pubic hairs, at which point she becomes a nara, which they like to translate as a partial adult. I mean, she's an adult for mitzvah, she's bas mitzvah. Okay? But she remains a nara for 6 months, after which she becomes a boigeres. That is a term used for a full adult. When a girl is betrothed before she becomes a boigeres, her father accepts the money or Kiddushin document on her behalf. Once she becomes a boigeres, she accepts her own Kiddushin. The father cannot do it. Although a father may accept Kiddushin now, the Mishnah only mentions that he can do it for a nara, for a girl who's 12. How about for a girl younger than that? Can he accept Kiddushin for her? And the answer is, although a father may accept Kiddushin for a katana, not just for a nara, but even for a girl younger, the Mishnah only mentions a nara to teach that a father is rabbinically forbidden to marry off his daughter while she is a katana. He should wait until she is mature enough to choose her own husband. So even though he is going to be the one accepting the Kiddushin for her, which they don't mention that here, but halachically he can do it against her will. What you should be doing here is, you should be doing it with her consent, with her knowledge and consent. And therefore, the Mishnah mentioned the nara because that's the point already where it's acceptable to do. Younger is problematic, but it would still work. Okay, next halacha. Ha'isha, next part of the Mishnah. Ha'omer le'isha. A man says to a woman. Now we know that when you do Kiddushin, there are 3 that you can do Kiddushin with kesef, with money. Right? You don't have to give her money, you can give her an object of value. Okay? Our minig is we do it with a ring. But you can do it with anything. So in this case, the Mishnah is like this. Man says to a woman, his kachuli b'tamarazu, be mukadeshes to me with this fig. His kachuli b'zu, be mukadeshes to me with this one. Okay, so he basically gave her two figs, and each time he said, be mukadeshes to me with this fig, be mukadeshes to me with this fig. That's what he did. So now, im yesh ba'achas mayan shavar pruta mukadeshes. If one of these dates is worth a pruta, which is the minimum value to be able to affect the Kiddushin, she's Mekudeshes. Okay? Even though he said his kachi by each one, he was making a separate act of Kiddushin with each one, fine, he was making. So if, let's say, the first one wasn't worth a shava pruta and it didn't work, the second one worked. If the second one would have been less than a pruta's worth, and the first one would have worked. So you're good to go. The imla beina Mekudeshes. But if none of them are a pruta, she's not going to be mekudeshes. Because by saying each time be mekudeshes to me by each giving of the date, that's clear that he's not making it one act, he's making it separate acts. Well, if each act only has a value of less than a pruta, it cannot affect the Kiddushin. However, let's say he says like this. He says bezu, 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 which means he said the word hiskachi, he's got to say to mekudeshes to me, and he says, with this one, and with this one, and with this one. Okay, he said hiskachi once. He said to be mekudeshes to me once. But he said with this, and with this, and with this. So then, im yesh shavar pruta b'chulan, if it comes out that all three together are worth a pruta, mekudeshes, she's mekudeshes. Because by the fact that he only said be mekudeshes to me once, that means he wants this to be one continuous act. And therefore, once he gives her the total value of a pruta, so the Kiddushin can take effect. The imlav, but again, if they don't equal a shavar pruta between the three of them, or between whatever amount you give to her, Ein Mekudeshes, she's not going to Mekudeshes, because if he doesn't give her the value of a pruta, it doesn't work. Now, what if the story is like this? And again, this is the case where he's saying to her, Mekudeshes to me with this one, and with this one, with this one. So what does he do? Hayisa echeles rishona rishona. Get this one? He goes ahead and he gives her a date. And what does she do with it? She eats it. And then he gives her another one, and she eats it. Okay? Now, then he gave her a third one. So now, Eina Mekudeshes, she will not be Mekudeshes in this case, ba'achas man shava pruta, until one of them has to be worth a pruta. Because in this case, where she's eating each one, right? At the end of the day, when does the Kiddushin happen? The Kiddushin happens, the Kiddushin, let's put it this way. If he's giving her all three, so it is it's a long act of Kiddushin. Okay. Now the truth is, as we're going to see, if at any point, if any one of these was worth a pruta, it's going to be okay. But the point here is, if let's say it comes out, well, let's say he gives her the first one and she eats it. Now when he gave it to her, right? He gave it to her for Kiddushin, but the Kiddushin didn't happen yet. Because it wasn't worth a pruta, let's say. Okay, but she ate it. So now, and she ate the next one. So when you get to the third one, which is when the Kiddushin is going to take place, if all three together become the value of a pruta, where the other thing are the other money still around? They're not around. She ate it. At the most, you have her alone, because he gave it to her for Kiddushin. If she ate it, so she has to pay him back unless the Kiddushin were to work. So what you really have here is when she eats it, it's a loan. Okay, so she eats the first one, and he gave it to her for Kiddushin, it's a loan. The second one is a loan. You can't make Kiddushin with a loan. If a man lends the money to a woman and he says, be Mekudeshes to me with the money that I, through this debt that I won't make you pay, and he says, I'm Mekadesh to you with the debt, instead of paying me, be Mekudeshes to me, that doesn't work. So says the Mishnah, until you have one of them being worth a pruta, you're going to have a problem. Because at the end of the day, when you need, let's say all three make the value of a pruta, if it comes out that at the end, when the Kiddushin has to take effect, what you have here is money that she owes him, plus this actual physical date, you don't have enough money to make Kiddushin. The other things were a debt. You can't make Kiddushin with a debt. and the last one is not worth a shava pruta, can't make Kiddushin with a shava pruta. The third one is less than a shava pruta, can't make Kiddushin with less than a shava pruta. But if, let's say, what happens is that the last one, the date left, that's the one that's worth a pruta. Okay, so even though he said to her, "Mekadesh to me with this and with this and with this," it was one long Kiddushin act. Okay, but so the first two, didn't work because it can't be counted as part of the Kiddushin because she owes it to him. But when he gives her the third one, which is worth a pruta, and he says, and with this he completes the Kiddushin. So theoretically, what's he making Kiddushin with? Two ones that she owes him. Two dates that she owes, and an actual date that has value. If a person says to a woman, "The Mikudesh is to me with the money that you owe me plus a pruta," and he gives her a real pruta, then it works. Because we say in that situation, her intent is for the Kiddushin to take effect with the actual thing that's worth the pruta. So therefore, in this case, where she ate the first and the second, if the third is worth a pruta, okay, so you have a pruta within what he gave her, right? You have an actual pruta. You have what he owes her and the actual value of pruta that he gave her. That works for Kiddushin. But if it comes out that the last one is not worth a pruta, which means the first two, which may together have been value of pruta, they're alone. The last one that's actual is that's in a pruta. Therefore, the Kiddushin is not going to work. So that's the difference between, in the cases of when he tells her with this and with this and with this, that if she, accepts each one and each one is intact and they equal the value of pruta, it's going to be good. If they're intact but they're not worth a pruta, it's not going to be good Kiddushin. If altogether they can make a pruta, but she lands up eating each one and she gets it before the Kiddushin works, then it's going to be a problem because what she ate is considered a debt that she owes him. He can't be Mekadesh her with the debt that she owes him. You'll have to have the last one being worth a pruta, so that we say that you have the money that she owes him plus the pruta. Again, his intention is to make a Kiddushin with all of it. At the end of the day, you have a pruta there for it to work. That's what her intent is for the Kiddushin, and therefore she would be Mekadeshes to him. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
There's an expression.